It was 10 o'clock at night, and the last rockets lazily shot up into the dark sky, which still glimmered with a few paper balloons inflated with hot air. These balloons, adorned with fireworks, posed a threat to the houses below, where men stood on rooftops, armed with pails of water and long poles, ready to extinguish any flames. Their dark silhouettes appeared like phantoms against the night, watching over the festive scene unfolding in San Diego. The townspeople, thrilled by the fireworks display, began moving toward the plaza to attend the theater for the final night of the festival. As they passed through the open spaces, children gleefully searched the grass for unexploded firecrackers, while the music began to call everyone back toward the stage. The stage, brightly illuminated with thousands of lights, was the center of attention. A local alguacil, in charge of the lights, was booed and teased by the crowd as he fussed over the setup. In front of the curtain, the orchestra tuned their instruments, playing preludes to the performance. Rows of seats were reserved for the town's prominent citizens, wealthy visitors, and Spaniards, while the rest of the people, those without status, jostled for space. Some even brought benches with them to elevate themselves, leading to protests from others, though no one stayed down for long. The atmosphere was lively. Laughter, shouts, and exclamations echoed throughout the plaza. Someone set off a firecracker, adding to the noise. A bench broke under the weight of too many people, sending its occupants to the ground in a burst of laughter. Elsewhere, people quarreled over seats while a tray of drinks and refreshments was carried precariously through the crowd. Don Filippo, the town's teniente mayor, was overseeing the event. He spoke with old Tassio, who, as usual, had his own thoughts on the matter. "What can I do?" Don Filippo sighed. The alcalde refused to accept my resignation. "How did you respond to him?" asked old Tassio, his sharp eyes twinkling with curiosity. "I told him that the strength of authority comes from the people. Without their support, a man holds no real power." Old Tassio chuckled at this, offering a sarcastic smile. "Ah, our people. Peaceful, yet they love violent shows and bloody fights. Democratic, but they worship kings and princes. Irreligious, yet they impoverish themselves with extravagant religious ceremonies. They are a puzzle, my friend." Their conversation was cut short by the arrival of Maria Clara and her friends. Don Filippo greeted them and escorted them to their seats. Behind them came Padre Salvi, accompanied by another Franciscan and several Spaniards. The priests were followed by a group of local townsmen eager to stay in the friars' favor. The play began, drawing the crowd's attention. The first scene featured Chananay and Marianito performing in Crispino e la Comare. Yet, amidst the spectacle, one person's gaze was not focused on the stage, Padre Salvi, who was fixated on Maria Clara. Her sadness seemed to enhance her beauty, though the Franciscan's gaze was filled with something far darker than admiration. Soon after, Ibarra arrived. His entrance caused a stir, with murmurs spreading through the crowd. While others avoided him, he greeted Maria Clara and her friends calmly, sitting beside them as though nothing was amiss. Sinang, always chatty, leaned over and asked, "Did you see the fireworks?" "No," Ibarra replied. "I was with the Captain General." "That's too bad. The curate told us stories about the damned to scare us. Can you imagine?" At that moment, Padre Salvi, noticing Ibarra's presence, stood up and approached Don Filippo with evident agitation. The curate spoke nervously, while Don Filippo remained composed. "I can't believe you allowed him here," Padre Salvi said sharply, referring to Ibarra. "Señor Ibarra is one of the town's major contributors," Don Filippo replied. "He has every right to be here as long as he doesn't cause trouble. But his presence is a scandal. You will answer for this to God." "I answer only for my own decisions," Don Filippo said. "Señor Ibarra isn't forcing himself on anyone." Frustrated, Padre Salvi threatened to leave, taking his companion with him. As they exited, some of their followers did the same, casting glares at Ibarra. Confused, Ibarra asked his friends what was happening. "They left because of you," someone whispered. "They say you're excommunicated." "Excommunicated?" Ibarra asked in disbelief. He glanced at Maria Clara, who hid her face behind her fan. Trying to maintain his composure, Ibarra approached Maria Clara and the others. "Excuse me, I just remembered something. I'll be back to see you home." Sinang tried to stop him. "Stay, Yayeng is going to dance. You can't miss it." But Ibarra left, and shortly after the plaza erupted into chaos. 2 soldiers from the civil guard approached Don Filippo, ordering him to stop the performance. "The alferez and his wife are fighting, and they can't sleep," one soldier said. Don Filippo, incredulous, replied, "We have permission from the alcalde. No one has the authority to stop this performance, not even the gobernador Chilo." "Still," the soldiers insisted. Refusing to back down, Don Filippo sent them away, choosing not to inform the crowd about the incident to avoid further disruption. The play continued, but not for long. As the hero of the play, Prince Villardo, challenged the Moros to mortal combat, the musicians suddenly fled the stage. The 2 soldiers had returned, this time storming the stage with clubs in hand, disrupting the performance entirely. In the confusion, people screamed and ran. Some shouted about bandits, while others claimed there was a fire. The plaza descended into pandemonium, with benches overturned, people tripping over one another, and the lights going out. Don Filippo, with the help of the town's cuadrilleros, managed to arrest the soldiers. Ibarra had returned to the plaza by this time, looking for Maria Clara. He found her and her friends huddled together, trembling with fear. He reassured them, guiding them to safety, while the cuadrilleros took the soldiers to the town hall, though the crowd, now furious, hurled stones at them. In the aftermath, the town seethed with indignation. Some called for revenge, urging the crowd to set fire to the barracks of the civil guard. Don Filippo tried to calm them down, promising justice the next day, but the angry townspeople refused to listen. Seeing the situation deteriorating, Ibarra was unsure what to do. Spotting Elias in the crowd, he pleaded with him for help. Elias, understanding the gravity of the situation, moved swiftly through the mob, persuading them to disperse. As the crowd began to break up, the soldiers emerged from the barracks, armed and ready, but they found the crowd already subdued. Meanwhile, Padre Salvi had not gone to bed. From his room, he had been watching the plaza, his thoughts filled with visions of Maria Clara. The disturbance outside awoke him from his reverie, and with a sudden sense of panic, he imagined Ibarra taking advantage of the chaos to abduct Maria Clara. In a frenzy, the curate rushed out into the plaza, running like a madman toward Capitan Tiago's house. There, to his great relief, he saw Maria Clara's silhouette in the doorway. Breathing easier, he muttered to himself, and without speaking to anyone, quietly returned to his quarters, his obsessive thoughts following him back into the night.